All right, what's up, friends and strangers? This is Matt Spurlock, the chairman of Rogue Indivisible. There is not a higher ranking person than me, so I feel like I am the most qualified to respond to this direct attack from County Commissioners Chris Barnett and Andreas Blech. This is their supposed white paper that they talked about for a few days before releasing. I am going to go through this whole thing because Indivisible is mentioned throughout it. And it's also kind of hard to find, and I wouldn't be surprised if this mysteriously disappears as well, like so many other things have here recently. So here we go. Exposing and opposing the JoCo Commissioner recall attempt. Executive summary. The campaign to recall our county commissioners is not a genuine push for accountability, but a strategic maneuver by a group of former county employees, backed by the national left-wing organization Indivisible, known for its anti-Trump agenda and Restore JoCo. Indivisible is not known for Restore JoCo. Maybe there was supposed to be a comma in there. Not sure. Indivisible National has never heard of Josephine County, let alone that there is a commissioner recall attempt trying to happen. Yeah, and also Rogue Indivisible, our local chapter here, is not directly associated with this. There are 7 people that are part of our steering committee, 4 of which are elected officers. Myself, Melissa, Rhett, and Kelda. And of the 4 main officers, I am the only one that's doing anything with the recall. And my involvement is basically setting up tables and chairs 2 to 3 days a week in front of the post office. That's it. Oh, I also take those same tables and chairs back home with me whenever I set those up. So like this week, I set them up this morning. So Wednesday, and I'm setting them up again on Friday. That's it. Indivisible and certainly Rogue Indivisible has given no money to the recall effort, to the recall group, Restore JoCo. We don't have any money to give. I certainly don't have any money to give. I am presently unemployed. So, yeah, there's that. Okay, but moving on. The recall threatens to undo significant strides in responsible fiscal management and to preserve the county's services in the most efficient manner possible. Okay. Recently, a small but vocal group initiated the recall effort against 2 of our committed county commissioners, cloaking their campaign in calls for transparency and good governance. Yet, a deeper look uncovers the real orchestrators, former county employees who once held sway over county operations. These individuals, emblematic of entrenched deep state bureaucrats, were ousted for fostering waste, inefficiency, and poor decisions. Now, with the support from Indivisible and using deceptive narratives, they seek to reclaim influence, subverting the voter's choice. Okay, so we're jumping right into the conspiracies here in the second paragraph. Okay, so deep state bureaucrats. So the 2 people that I know of that were part of the voluntary resignation program, as far as I know, that's how they were, ousted. Was that it was their choice. So that would be Robert Brandis, who was in charge of Public Works, and Jim Goodwin, who was in charge of Juvenile Justice. So both of those guys, to my knowledge, are Republicans. I know that Jim Goodwin is. I'm assuming that Brandis is, but I don't know for sure. Deep state bureaucrats. That's crazy to me. First off, Public Works is not part of the county budget, or if it is, it's a tiny, tiny fraction. It's mostly paid for by the state highway fund. Yeah. So it says they were ousted for fostering waste, inefficiency, and poor decisions. Everything I've heard is that it was all part of the voluntary resignation program. So which is it? Did they voluntarily resign, or were they ousted for being terrible, horrible people? Because Robert Brandis now works for the city of Gold Hill. So if he's he was a almost 30-year veteran of public works, if he is the deep state devil here, I'm sure the city of Gold Hill would like to know about that, and perhaps charges should be filed. And once again, with support from Indivisible, I'm going to do my best to root this out. So I know that Rogue Indivisible hasn't been part of that at all. I'll reach out to Hannah Oliver, who is kind of in charge at the state level of Indivisible, and I'll even fire off an email to Ezra Levin, who is like the head of Indivisible National, and see if they are sending money to little old Josephine County, Oregon, to help with this recall effort. I'm willing to bet they've never heard of it. So this document highlights the risks of this recall effort and urges citizens to oppose it to safeguard integrity and maintain progress. The Commissioner's Record, a foundation of fiscal responsibility. Efficiencies in workforce and monetary savings were and will continue to be realized. There is no reduction in services to the citizens. Under the current Commissioner's leadership, our county has seen tangible and proven advancements that directly counter the inefficiencies of the past. Fiscal reforms have reduced unnecessary expenditures significantly by redirecting funds toward responsible fiscal savings. That doesn't make sense to me. Reduced unnecessary expenditures significantly by redirecting funds towards responsible fiscal savings. So we've taken money out of the checking account where we were spending things and put it into a savings account, I guess, is what this means. I don't know. Removing employees by either voluntary separation or discharge. The county has already realized significant savings, which are crucial for navigating forward, knowing that state and federal grant money that we depend on is going away. See the data for yourself. The Voluntary Resignation Program, VRP, was modeled after the Trump administration and DOGE, which was equally successful here by downsizing the employee roster by 18 employees. The actual cost savings are real and as follows. Okay, so we'll get into the numbers here, but I don't believe that DOGE was successful. They were supposed to cut like $2 trillion and ended up, cutting what was it, 10 billion was the final number. Like nowhere close to what was advertised. And also, cutting USAID and several other things that's going to result in killing, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people around the world. So not a successful measure that I would compare anything that I've done to. But let's get into it. On March 7th, 2025, participating employees were paid $724,000 as follows. So 19% was $134,000 PTO vacation payout owed employees and must be paid to them eventually. So these 18 employees had banked that much PTO. Cool. 17% was $126,000 in payroll taxes and PERS, which is also owed and must be paid. That makes sense to me. $464,000 was separation pay, the actual cost of the VRP, a total of 18 and a half weeks. So that was the offer. So it was 18 and a half weeks if you voluntarily retired, resigned, whatever. Okay, cool. The cost savings by July 14th covered the $724,000 VRP payout. Starting July 15th, 2025, the county began saving money. How much? The annual recurring savings is over $700,000 without a reduction in services to Josephine County taxpayers. Okay. I'm already confused. So the cost savings from March 7th to July 14th was $700,000. $724,000, I guess. So that's March, April, May, June, July. So in 4 months and 1 week, we saved $700,000 by not paying these people. And it's saying that the annual recurring savings is going to be the same. So what's happening from year to year? So we saved that much in 4 months this year, and we're only going to save that much in 12 months next year. That doesn't work out in math for me. Okay. In addition, reductions and improvements in the county's management structure resulted in even greater savings in 2025 and will continue in future years. The position, public health director, $195,000. Now it's $0. So I'm assuming that's saying that we do not have a public health director. Public works director, $241,000. Now $0. Now this is something that I mentioned earlier. The public works director, his entire department is almost entirely funded from the state highway fund. So how are you claiming these savings? How does that work? Okay. And I'm wondering if any of that voluntary resignation or firing, whichever one it was, how much of that came from the state highway fund, or was that all, was the county solely responsible for that since we eliminated that position, I guess? The community development director and the juvenile justice director. So the first 3 positions, I don't know what's happened with those. I would think that the public works director would be mandated by the state, but I don't know. The juvenile justice, I do know that was combined with adult justice, or whatever the proper term is for that. So I could see that being a cost savings and not being something that we had to rehire for. The annual recurring savings from reducing the number of department heads is more than $800,000 per year and will not reduce county services provided to taxpayers. Taken together, these actions are saving more than $1.5 million annually. Okay, so maybe that makes up for some of the funny math earlier. I don't know. The commissioner's decisive actions and reorganizations disrupted the status quo. These changes have been attempted for decades but did not happen until 2025. Now disguised as concerned citizens, the recall organizers peddle distortions about the commissioner's authoritarianism to mask their own failures. What? I don't even know. Yeah, I'm not a recall organizer, so I can't speak for them. These people, held their positions for 20 plus years, being Jim Goodwin and Robert Brandis, which I don't even know how much Brandis is even actually involved. I don't know. So to say to mask their own failures, it just seems like, a personal attack that's not justified. Like I'm not seeing, where this is coming from. Like this is just, vile rhetoric for no reason. Voters must recognize that the commissioner's bold reforms were disruptive to the old guard and have delivered measurable benefits to all of Josephine County. The deep state's motives: self-interest over public service. A cadre of disgruntled former employees and political has-beens seeking power and relevance. Is this did a Fox News writer, jump on here and make this for you guys? What? Indivisible is pushing the recall, a national anti-Trump far-left organization. No, Indivisible isn't. Like I said, I will reach out and I will attach this letter and see if I can get some sort of response from the state level or from the national level or whatever I get. At the heart of this recall attempt lies a network of former employees, some of whom held positions in department administrations for decades. God, right? So these former employees that were the deep state in public works and juvenile justice. I'm just not things I associate with the deep state. Like, okay, I guess they weren't elected positions and they held them for a long time. I don't know. B, the organization known nationally as Indivisible. C, Restore Joco. And D, social and political has-beens seeking relevance. These individuals now operating through proxy organizations and anonymous funding sources. Let's stop there. I'm pretty sure that since Restore Joco is a PAC, that they have to report donations over like $200, or maybe the bar is even less. I don't know, but they definitely have to report large donations. Yep. Filings show that key proponents include the former directors, plus other past employees whose own actions and departments were constantly plotting and working against the Board of County Commissioners going back for decades. What? So to me, it feels like that this is a conspiracy theory, and it's going back multiple commissioners. So everybody watching this probably knows that Commissioner John West was recalled successfully last year. And there were a variety of reasons for that. It happened. But we've had a problem with the commissioners going back a while. Now, I don't think that the departments were constantly plotting and working against them. Yeah, I don't know. Once again, not my area of expertise. But this next part is, who is indivisible? Me. I am indivisible for all intents and purposes in Josephine County. It's me. So I am responsible for all of the content that goes out, even if some of it does come from other people. I take that responsibility as the chairman of the group. I oversee how funds are spent. I'm not in charge of the purse, but I can tell you that the total amount of donations that we've taken in has been about $500. We have not received a dime from the state level or from the national group. I don't know George Soros. None of those things. We have about $500 that we've raised, and most of that is due to come back to me to reimburse me for expenses that I've paid. But it hasn't happened yet. So, but none of the money that we have raised has come from outside the area, and none of it has gone to the recall movement. So, who is Indivisible? According to its websites, we're a grassroots movement of thousands of local indivisible groups with a mission to elect progressive leaders, rebuild our democracy, and defeat the Trump agenda. Okay. That it's in quotes. That sounds in line with what we do. I haven't been involved with Indivisible during an election cycle, so I can't really speak to the electing progressive leaders part. I do think that our democracy needs to be rebuilt on the Constitution, and that the Trump administration is constantly attacking the Constitution. And today happens to be Constitution Day. Yeah. So, but once again, like there's just such a divide in my mind between local politics and national politics. And even the national stuff, like I don't oppose, things that Trump does because they come from Trump. Like I don't like to engage in the genetic fallacy. I'll give Trump kudos for the no tax on overtime and the no tax on tips with certain income thresholds. I think that's great. I wish they were permanent cuts, like the $1 trillion in tax cuts for billionaires. That's permanent, but the other two things are coming off in 2028. That sucks. Okay? And then as far as the local stuff, That's not what Indivisible organizes against. We organize against national politics. We have not done anything specifically about local politics. Hey, so to defeat the Trump agenda, is this what Josephine County citizens want? Yeah, it is. Like, we get hundreds to thousands of people coming out to our National Days of Action. We have No Kings 2 coming up in a month and a day. Yeah, Josephine County citizens are pushing back against the Trump agenda. They're pushing back against ICE, pushing back about the genocide in Palestine. Yes. Yeah, totally. See www.indivisible.org, then click through the Rogue Indivisible chapter. These are bad actors with a destructive agenda. Let's do that. Let's see here. www.indivisible.org. Here we go, homepage. In America, we don't do kings. Okay, this is talking about no kings. You can find something near you. So, stop the redistricting, stop ICE, latest on the Epstein files, release the list. Okay, find or start a local indivisible group, all that stuff. Okay, register for an event. All right, let's do this. Okay, we're going to click here. Do my zip code. Rogue Indivisible. Here we go. Newcomer friendly. We are here to mobilize and be active against tyranny, fascism, corrupt government, and to hold our elected officials accountable to the American people. So let's contact. I mean, it doesn't really show you much there. You can reach out to us that way, I guess. I'm assuming it comes to our Rogue Indivisible 2025 at Gmail email, but I don't know for sure. All right, let's see if this even links to the right thing. It links to the discussion group. Okay, that's cool. All right, Sammy, thank you for that. I will check that out later. Also links to 1 Million Rising in Medford and ORD2. Yeah, so feel free, jump on here and find out what's going on with Indivisible. And specifically, Rogue Indivisible. So we're bad actors. I mean, I think I look pretty good on camera. With a destructive agenda. No, I don't think it's destructive. The recall leader's rhetoric, accusations of mismanagement and overreach mirrors tactics used by entrenched bureaucracies nationwide. By labeling the commissioners as divisive and not transparent, they deflect from their own records of complacency. This is no coincidence. It's a plot for reclaiming power and reinstalling allies through appointments if the recall succeeds. What? Own records of complacency. I don't know what this means. Please, Chris Barnett, explain it to me. Like, records of complacency. I am the busiest unemployed person on the planet, it seems. And I am constantly involved in different things trying to help my community. I even joined Park Watch over the weekend to help clean a couple of the parks, Morrison Park and Fruitdale Park. And boy, were they surprised to see me. But anyways, that's kind of what's up. I had tried to help out with Mint. I haven't done as much with them as I would like. I've more done things independently. Like, I take things to the different homeless encampments around town. Usually frozen bottles of water on days that it's really hot, and popsicles. So complacency is just weird, especially to level accusations of complacency against a group that is actively doing something. That's just dumb. Yeah. So, and I'm Still slightly confused on how the people would be, the new commissioners would come into office if we do successfully get 2 of them out. So when John West was recalled, the other 2 commissioners appointed, well, the new 2 commissioners appointed Andreas Blech to replace him. And that's what happened when a previous commissioner stepped down. Andreas Blech was appointed by the other 2 commissioners to replace that guy. So in this one, it's my understanding that a board will be made of all the county department heads to appoint at least 1 new commissioner. I don't know if they get to appoint both. So if you're watching this, please feel free to let me know. Moreover, the recall process itself is being manipulated. Petition signatures are being gathered under false pretenses with paid canvassers. No! Nobody's being paid. Nobody's being paid. Nobody is being paid to canvass, to collect signatures, or to protest. This comes up all the time. We're not bussing people in from anywhere. We're not paying people to be there. Okay? We don't even know who's going to show up to the different protests and rallies. We just put it out on social media, and people come. That's it. They're not paid. We don't have money to pay them. I don't get paid. What is this? Like, I literally have not been paid $1 by Rogue Indivisible, other than I got reimbursed for I rented the green space at Riverside Park for our Good Trouble event. I got reimbursed for that. That's the only money I have received from Rogue Indivisible at all. And I have a lot of receipts that I need to turn in. But we don't even have the money to reimburse me for all that stuff. So a lot of it I'm just going to eat personally. Okay? Nobody is being paid. Nobody. There are no paid canvassers. In fact, there are no canvassers at this moment. Okay? There are people that are set up at different stations. So we have the main office at 123 Southeast K Street. And there's the post office, which is the only thing I'm even remotely responsible for. And then we have the growers market on Saturdays. And then I guess there was a senior health fair where they set up a table at the fairgrounds over the weekend. But it's not canvassing in the way that I would ever use that word. They're not going door to door. They're not doing anything like that. And they're not being paid. So anyways, petition signatures are being gathered under false pretenses with paid canvassers downplaying the proponents' backgrounds and motives. Allowing former county employees and outside organizers to do this would set a dangerous precedent. Permitting the few dissatisfied to weaponize recalls against duly elected officials erodes the stability elections provide. Okay, there's no outside organizers. I'm assuming that's another reference to Indivisible, but there's zero chance that they're going around me to sponsor this or to organize this. Just none chance. But like I said, I'm still going to reach out. Yeah, and all of this comes down to the voters. Okay? Like I said, 7,500 signatures have to be collected, and those signatures are all verified, or there's a verification process. John West sued about the process for him, which my understanding is that 10% of the signatures are verified by the county clerk, and then like that's how they sample and check the things, all that stuff. And I guess if it's close enough, they'll start looking at all the signatures. I don't know. Or if there's obvious signs of, corruption with the signatures, then they'll look into it more. I don't know. But once again, it's just all down to the voters. So the signatures get it onto a ballot, and then the voters vote on it. Like, that's how it works. The broader implications: cost, disruption, and election erosion. Recalls cost the taxpayers time and money. Yes. And the voters and taxpayers get to decide if it's worth it or not. So far, the recall has cost the taxpayers $0. So the only time it starts to cost anything is when it goes onto the ballot. Recalls are for egregious actions by the elected, not just disagreements. That's their opinion. I mentioned in a video a couple days ago, we could recall Chris Barnett for being too short. It doesn't matter. Like, if the voters have a problem with you, it can be all opinion based, right? And the recall could still go forward. But if the voters agree with whatever is on that petition and enough of them sign it, then it goes to a ballot. Yeah, you can say, you can gatekeep recalls all you want, but that's just not the way that it works. The indivisible game plan is being used in multiple Southern Oregon counties. The only group that I have had any contact with is Indivisible ORD2. And the reason for that, they're in Medford, like they're just down the road from us. I've had 2 Zoom meetings, and I haven't been part of any of their meetings per se. We did release a really funny rap video about our congressional representative, Cliff Bentz, and that was one of our Zoom meetings, was to talk about doing that. But to my knowledge, there's no recall effort going on in Jackson County, and we haven't talked about that at all. We haven't talked about the recall going on here at all. So I guess there are other recalls going on, at least from this document, but we're not involved in any of those. Beyond personal motives, the recall poses significant risk to our county's operation and finances. The process alone will cost taxpayers upwards of $64,000 in election administration, diverting resources from critical needs. That number seems high. I want to say that the cost was like $35,000 last year. I can't imagine that it's almost doubled. And I also can't imagine that it would be on a separate ballot. So I don't think it's going to be 2 separate mailings or anything like that, but I don't know for sure. That just seems silly. If successful, this tactic will continue after every election. So there's lots and lots of elected positions in Josephine County, and 2 of them are being recalled this time. So it's not something that we're going to see every time. Like, there's been tons of elections that no recall has happened. Yeah. And there's been failed recall attempts too. So I don't know. That's just fear-mongering. Recall should be preserved or reserved for egregious misconduct, not policy disagreements or vendettas. Once again, like, there's nothing in the paperwork about a recall that I've come across that lists the reasons for it. It can be for anything. The commissioners have faced no charges of illegality, nor have they been convicted of any wrongdoing. This recall is purely a political maneuver. So it's so rare that Republicans go after other Republicans, and this is a Republican-led effort. So whatever. Allowing former insiders to engineer a comeback via a recall circumvents the ballot box, where voters can assess candidates every 4 years. Okay. Blech has not been assessed by the voters. Blech has received exactly 4 votes in his entire lifetime for public office. So John West and whoever the other person was, was it Herman at that time? I don't know. They voted to have him replace Dan DeYoung, and then Chris Barnett and Ron Smith appointed Andreas Blech to replace John West. So, no, I mean, at least half wrong. It fosters instability, discouraging qualified leaders from public service for fear of constant harassment. No. Like, nobody's trying to recall the mayor. Nobody's trying to recall city council. Nobody's trying to recall the county clerk or assessor. And honestly, nobody's even trying to recall the other commissioner, Ron Smith. So, no. Recalls are currently being organized against other commissioners in Curry and Lincoln counties. I don't think I could find those on the map. The players and their tactics are exactly the same. No. I don't think anybody involved in this recall is involved in that recall. Certainly not Rogue Indivisible. This is no coincidence. Locally, we must reject this model and maintain control over our local governance. By opposing the recall, we send a clear message. Power resides with the people, not a disrespectful few. Once again, this recall, the power resides with the people. So if the recall doesn't get enough signatures, it won't go to the ballot. If it goes to the ballot and there's not enough people that vote to recall them, it won't happen. So, to quote Captain Planet, the power is yours. The recall effort against our county commissioners is a thinly veiled attempt by a cadre of former disgruntled employees. I've switched those. Indivisible and has-beens with the goal to reclaim influence and unearned authority. This is like copy and paste from earlier. The commissioners' reforms have brought efficiency and accountability, achievements that would be jeopardized by this regressive move. No. So, I mean, if you want to argue efficiency, I don't know enough to rebut that. As far as accountability goes, these guys have been shirking it since day one. All of the videos of the previous Board of County Commissioner meetings and workshops have been removed from YouTube. They have been removed from their website. You have to enter a password, I guess, to even find them. But they have been removed from the public eye. These guys are not being transparent. They put themselves in charge of all public records requests, and they are denying or ignoring them right and left. These guys are not being accountable. They are not being transparent. Right? And they're making up all this weird stuff too. Like, they're conspiracy theorists. Just do your job. If you guys had done your job, then you wouldn't be in this situation. Citizens must stand firm and not sign the petition. We must all recognize the high costs, threats, and self-serving motives at play here now. We urge all residents to oppose the recall petition to prevent this effort from reaching the ballot. Preserving our current leadership ensures a brighter future free from the grip of entrenched interest or outside influence. Together we can safeguard our county's integrity and continue building on the foundation of real change. This statement was prepared by Commissioners Andreas Blech and Chris Barnett, Josephine County, Oregon, 9/14/25, version 2.03. So there were revisions to this, and there's still so many lies and BS. Like, Rogue Indivisible are not involved. This is fear-mongering. This is lies. Just out and out lies. So, yeah. Take me to court or something. Like, I'll show you it's not happening. Whatever you need to see, it's whatever. Like, I've made the offer multiple times to different people that have published things against us to see our books, to see our discussion page, and to see my books personally. Like, I will 100% show those to you in person. I won't just give you access to all that stuff all the time. But anything you want to see, I will show you. Well, transparency is what I'm all about, to a fault. So, I don't know. I don't get it. I feel like the commissioners are just desperate, and so they're, grasping at anything they can. Apparently, Indivisible, Rogue Indivisible, and me personally are the boogeymen right now. But it's not true. Thanks, guys.